Thank you very much, Ophélie. As it has been mentioned, I would like to once again extend the sincere apologies of Dr. Rita Bissonot, Director of the UNESCO Liaison Office, who was not able to make it this morning. Excellency Joanne Romare, Dr. Yemisi Akinbobola, allow me to stand on all protocols already observed. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to present to you, alongside some of its authors here in the room, the key findings of UNESCO's upcoming World Trends in Freedom of Expression and Media Development Report 2022-2025, titled Journalism Shaping a World at Peace. Before delving into the findings of the report, allow me to express our gratitude to the donors of UNESCO's multi-donor program on freedom of expression and safety of journalists, which has supported this report since its inception, in particular Sweden, and which is, of course, one of its main contributors. We are also deeply thankful to our partners, African Women in Media, for giving us the opportunity to present this landmark report during their annual conference. Thank you all for being here this morning. Your presence reflects our shared commitment to freedom of expression and to journalism's vital role in building more peaceful and inclusive societies. Now, the previous edition of the World Trends reports revealed that 85% of the world's population lived in countries where press freedom has declined. In this new edition, we asked ourselves what drove this decline. Has it continued? And what are the actions that can be taken to build resilience? His Excellency mentioned that this report is painting a dark picture. As you can see on the graph, the findings are sobering. Globally, freedom of expression peaked in 2012, as you can see, thanks to expanded access to information laws, institutions protecting press freedom, and the use of technology to amplify diverse voices. Since then, the global score has dropped by 10%, a decline of historical significance. Now, we see this decline in press freedom in several clear ways, and I will maybe talk about three of them here. The first is journalists are censoring themselves more and more, avoiding topics considered risky, and with that, important voices that hold power to account are being silenced. Second, governments as powerful actors are tightening control over the media, using laws, regulations, and even smear campaigns to undermine public trust. And third, this shrinking space goes beyond journalism. Academic and artistic freedom are also declining, narrowing the very spaces where ideas are created, debated, and shared. The key question for us now is, what are the trends driving this decline? The first one that was identified is, of course, the erosion of checks and balances. Weakening institutions and manipulation of the rule of law reduce transparency and protection for journalists. Second, emerging technologies. Tools like AI open new ways to express ourselves, but can also spread disinformation and misinformation, threaten information integrity, and strain news organizations' business models. Third, a regression of rights for women and groups in situations of vulnerability and marginalization. Hard-won progress on equality is being rolled back, and violence, harassment, and systemic barriers continue to limit participation in media. These trends are explored in depth in the chapter authored by Dr. Rokhaya Diallo, who's here with us this morning. Thank you very much for joining us, whom we are again honored to have with us today. She will further reflect on these issues during the panel session. Thank you very much. Fourth, targeting journalists, scientists, and climate activists. Disinformation and harassment threaten both their safety and public access to reliable information. And finally, a deepening economic crisis for independent media. Digital platforms dominate revenues, leaving professional outlets struggling to sustain operations, uphold standards, and maintain pluralistic coverage. The changing political context globally, actually, is also has become a challenge for women journalists. Now, these challenges unfold in a changing political landscape where institutional trust is declining and democratic systems face growing pressure. Today, 72% of the world's population live under some form of authoritarian rule, the highest in decades. And this is not only in Africa, but we can observe it globally. Social cohesion is weakening, polarization is rising, and disinformation fuels distrust. Trust in professional media has eroded, leaving journalists vulnerable and public access to reliable information at risk. Journalists continue to face mounting threats, creating zones of silence. Over the past 3.5 years, more than 310 journalists were killed. Yet, 85% of these cases remain unresolved. Many are forced into exile, continuing vital independent reporting from abroad, supported by safe spaces and solidarity networks. When it comes to violence against women journalists, while journalists as a whole face severe threats, certain groups are disproportionately affected. Women and gender non-conforming journalists are targeted by harassment and exclusion, often silenced to restrict their participation in public life. Many of you in this room know these realities all too well. You have faced them, reported on them, and supported colleagues through them. This slide is not about abstract numbers. It's about your stories, your courage, and the urgent need for change. This backlash is not limited to the newsroom or the streets, of course. The digital sphere has become a major front for violence against women journalists. Technology-facilitated gender-based violence is pervasive. In a 2023 study of 283 attacks against women journalists, online harassment emerged as the most common form. This builds on the 2020 UNESCO survey in which 73% of women journalists reported experiencing online attacks, and 1 in 5 said these online assaults were followed by physical attacks in the real world. It's staggering. Weaponizing of the legal system. Beyond harassment and threats, journalists face insidious pressures through the legal system. Laws on cybercrime, defamation, anti-terrorism, and finance are increasingly used to intimidate those who speak truth to power. Strategic lawsuits against public participation, or SLAPs, target reporters exposing corruption or environment harm. Together with the violence, exile, and gender-based harassment, these legal attacks threaten the very foundation of journalism and access to truth. Now, this slide here is about the media viability. Journalists and media outlets face serious economic and structural pressures. Even where media freedom is protected, many newsrooms are understaffed, struggling to survive, and losing advertising revenue to digital giants. Subscription growth is not enough to fill the gap. Public funding is declining, and political or commercial interference continues to threaten editorial independence. These pressures highlight a critical reality. Sustaining independent, pluralistic journalism requires urgent innovation, support, and solutions to maintain trust and access in the digital age. New technologies, AI, especially generative AI, are reshaping the media landscape. While AI offers opportunities, it also poses serious risks: deepfakes, AI-driven impersonations, and biased outputs threaten freedom of expression and marginalize underrepresented voices. The concentration of AI infrastructure in the hands of a few companies, I will not name them here, further limits pluralism. UNESCO initiatives like Internet for Trust and the recommendation on the ethics of AI provide guidance, but effective implementation and enforcement remain crucial. Elections. In Africa, we know about that. Digital tools have transformed political communication, but also threaten electoral integrity. Online disinformation, algorithmic manipulation, and AI-generated content are used to influence elections, suppress voters, and discredit journalists and election authorities. In 2024 alone, elections in 72 countries highlighted declining trust and voter participation. Journalists covering elections face harassment, threats, underscoring the human cost of these pressures. Hate speech and targeted online violence further undermine public trust and civic engagement. Aggressive and dehumanization content online has surged, often targeting minorities and spreading disinformation. Despite platforms' efforts to remove harmful posts, 67% of users still encounter hate speech, disproportionately affecting LGBTQI people and ethnic or racial minorities. This toxic environment not only discourages engagement with reliable news, but also makes it harder for journalists to report on critical issues, including climate change, one of the most pressing challenges of our time. Coming to climate crisis and environment reporting, journalists covering climate and environment issues face growing threats. From disinformation campaigns to harassment and pressure on scientists, all of which undermine accurate reporting. UNESCO has documented attacks on environmental journalists, showing the real human and professional risks involved. This complex challenge illustrates how threats to freedom of expression, media viability, and information integrity are interconnected, shaping the environment in which journalists work. Now, when it comes to positive counter trends, amid these challenges, of course, there are encouraging developments advancing freedom of expression and access to information. Between 2020 and 2025, 1.5 billion people gained access to social media and messaging platforms, expanding civic engagement and enabling dialogue across communities and borders. Collaborative investigative journalism is on the rise, subscription-based media are growing, and new initiatives, including UNESCO's Social Media for Peace, are supporting participative governance of online content. Community media is also thriving. Of 194 countries surveyed in 2025, nearly half now legally recognized community media, with many offering financial or regulatory support. These positive trends highlight the importance of continued efforts to strengthen media development, uphold information integrity, and defend freedom of expression worldwide. Allow me to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that this journalism, Shaping a World at Peace report, is more than the title of a report. It's a call to action. Freedom of expression is both a fundamental right and the driver of all other rights. When people can speak openly, access information, and participate in debate, societies become stronger, fairer, and more resilient. This vision is at the heart of UNESCO's mandate, yet it is under profound threat. Our collective responsibility is to ensure that journalism continues to serve as a force for peace, dialogue, and human dignity in a rapidly changing world. Here in Africa, women journalists and media professionals are at the forefront of this struggle, telling stories that matter, amplifying diverse voices, and shaping narratives of hope and progress. Your leadership and courage continue to inspire us all, and I think this was recalled by His Excellency Roman. Let us stand together to support journalism everywhere and defend information as a public good for the benefit of all. I thank you very much.